A court in Dar es Salaam in Tanzania has ruled that Freeman Mbowe, the leader of the country's main opposition party, will have to stand trial on charges of terrorism, prolonging a case that some see as being political. Mbowe was arrested last July, along with a number of other senior party officials, just hours before they were to hold a public forum to demand constitutional reforms in the East African country. He was charged with financing terrorism and conspiracy. The 60-year-old leader said that he had been tortured whilst in custody. His party, Chadema, has accused the government of President Samia Suluhu Hassan of meddling, saying that Mbowe's incarceration reflects a deepening slide into dictatorship. Well, for more on this, we're now joined by Neville Meena from the Tanzania Editors Forum. In fact, he's joining us on the line to talk to us about this situation. Neville, thanks very much indeed for joining us. Has this case been a political one in your view?
Yes, it might be because, as you have said, the High Court of Corruption and Community Sabotage has ruled that Mbowe has a case to answer. Now, going back to what really happened during the proceedings in the court, when the prosecution side came up with witnesses, actually 13 witnesses were brought to testify against Mbowe, and initially they were promised that they are going to bring 24, and only 13 appeared. This means 11 witnesses did not appear before the court. Nothing like the reason given that why these people were not appearing in the court, but the prosecution side said that they are satisfied is what they have done in terms of establishing that Mbowe and other colleagues were liable of what they were accused for. Now, going to the details of the from the witnesses, especially from the cross-examinations, there's a lot of ups and downs in terms of contradictions from most of the witnesses. And this can be termed as maybe a political kind of accusation against Mbowe.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about those charges. I mean, they're talking about terrorism and conspiracy. What did he actually do that points to these charges?
That's right. You know, someone being accused of funding terrorism funding terrorism in terms of cash, which is less than $200, less than $300. You know, accused of funding terrorism. The amount of money written is 600,000 Tanzanian shillings, equivalent to $250 US. You know, how this is too low. We can say that the prosecution side, they are making terrorism as something which can be done by anyone with such amount of cash. We know people who have been accused and may be convicted of terrorists have been funding terrorism by using a lot of money, billions of shillings or millions of dollars. But here, Mr. Mbowe is accused of funding terrorism with an amount of less than $250 USD. This is ridiculous.
So where do you think the push is coming from in terms of going after Mr. Mbowe? Could this be coming from the highest office in the land?
Behind surface in the land, maybe. But, you know, from what I know is that this case has been there even before the former president passed away, Mr. Magufuli. And there's a lot of information coming from within the state that Mr. Magufuli denied or stopped the DPP office to take these charges in the court of law, citing that there was no enough evidence to convict the person and the others accused of terrorism. But they are saying that these we call them cohesive apparatuses, the saddest people within the security cycles. They deceived Mama Samia, saying that they have done a very thorough investigation and they are sure that Mbowe will be convicted of terrorism because what they have established, it is testifying that it is suggesting that Mbowe has been funding terrorism in this country. So from that, they managed to convince the president, and now the case is there. But what I can say from what is going within the court of law, within the economic and the sabotage, corruption, economic sabotage court, is a shame to the government, because from a mere person, from even a illiterate person can see the evidence is a lot of holes. They can't establish that. There's no any suggestion that they can drive and testify, show that Mbowe actually is liable of what they are accusing him for.
Does this mean that Mr. Mbowe and his party, Chadema, is a threat to the ruling party?
Yes, it is. It is. There's no doubt about that. You know, you can see, going back to the elections we had for more than 15 years, Chadema has been a threat to the ruling party. And you can see what happened during last general elections. This is evidence that the ruling party actually rigged the elections and denied the Chadema aspirants to, some of them, to vie for their position, like parliamentary seats and the presidents. People were stopped from voting, people were stopped from entering tallying centers, and those kinds of, there's a lot of irregularities in that election. Why? Because of fear. CCM is fearing that Chadema would have taken the lead and won the election. That's why all of these things are done. This is very evident. There's no doubt about that.
So this case then sounds like it's dividing Tanzania along political lines. What might be the consequences of this?
You know, sometimes it's very, very hard to predict, but I can see a drift, you know, apart from having opposing sides in our country, especially when it comes to political scenarios. But at least we are living together. But now I can see this case like deepening the division between the ruling party and the opposition party, Chadema, especially the opposition supporters, Chadema aspirants. They are accusing CCM and the president of being on top of this case, something which is not good. Our president, Mama Samia, is trying very hard to push her agendas, especially on development, economic, social services, and so kind of thing, trying to portray the picture that she's ready even to have a conversation with the opposition. And recently, we saw her sitting with Tundu Lissu in Brussels, Belgium, and Tundu Lissu is a vice chairperson to Mr. Mbowe, invite Mr. Mbowe in Chadema. But when it comes to that, Mr. Mbowe is still in court under custody for these charges, terrorism charges. It makes some of, like, it's contradicting the whole situation. Some of people are not, they don't believe that maybe the government is really encouraging criticism from maybe opposition side or even from the media.
So, I mean, is there a danger that Chama cha Mapinduzi might lose power for the first time?
Losing power, it might happen, but how? Because we don't have strong instrument in this country, in your country. Seeing the election body, National Electoral Commission, it's the members of the commissioners are appointed by the president, who is the president, who is also a chairperson for Chama cha Mapinduzi. We don't have a very strong system where the commission can be fair to all parties. So I don't see how the opposition can scoop or can manage to be the winner in any elections without having maybe a new constitution, which is a big demand from the public, and from the civil society, and from the all political parties, demanding the new constitution, which will put in place strong institutions like election commission. Now we can have at least a level playing field when it comes to election. But as it is now, it is very difficult for the ruling party to lose an election.
All right, Neville, that's where we're going to leave it. Thank you so much. Always great talking to you. Thank you for joining us on the program tonight.
Oh, thank you. Have a nice evening.
Asante sana.
Asante.